What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CheeseTalk podcast. I am your host, Brian Rago. Tonight, I am joined by Tyler. What's up, Tyler?
What's up, man? How are we doing?
Good. We finally got the technical issues out of the way for now.
Yeah. The year 2024, we still got technical issues. So, can't live with technology. Can't live without it, I suppose.
Right. I just want to give a quick shout out to the Open Network for letting me podcast under their umbrella, the Open Network. If you follow them on Twitter, they are 35 followers away from giving away an 8x10 autographed Jair Alexander photo.
Oh,
Tyler, can you tell people about yourself?
Yeah, man. So I do a podcast with two of my best friends, the Next Guy Up podcast. We talk a lot of sports, talk a lot of food here recently. We've been heavy in talking about fast food and different restaurants and things like that. So we do that over on the Fresh Network. You can find us on YouTube or on our own channels. The Next Guy Up on Spotify and Apple. But so that's a little bit about me. But I'm sure we got some other stuff. If you can't tell, if you're watching, I am a huge Jaguars fan. I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point tonight.
Right away, we'll talk about it.
Love it.
So, what are your thoughts on the draft this year, and who is your favorite pick?
Surprisingly, my favorite pick was Jarian Jones, the corner out of Florida State. I love having a corner on the team who's kind of got that dog mentality of he's not scared to guard anyone, and he's kind of shown that and talked that way so far in OTAs and stuff. Good player at Florida State, a little bit older. I think that's why he fell in the draft. And he's kind of seen as like a slot guy, but I think he's going to come in and make an impact for us. He's going to be a day one starter. So I'm very excited about him. And then obviously I'm excited about Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, it's always fun to draft a receiver. We've not had the best track record of drafting receivers in the first round, so I'm hoping that changes this year. But so those two are the guys I'm very excited about.
Yeah, I'd say for me, for the Packers, I'm excited about Adrian Cooper and Javon Bullard. See what kind of an impact they can make.
Yeah, Cooper being another like pass rush guy for you guys, that was a big pick.
Yeah, and I think Rashawn Gary's gonna come out with a vengeance this year too.
Yeah,
I think just seeing some of his off-season training videos and just some of the workouts he's doing is just mind blowing.
Yeah, him and Preston Smith. I mean, you guys got a bunch of pass rushers up there.
Yeah, a lot of first round picks on the defensive side.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Trevor Lawrence just signed an extension, right? 5-year extension?
Yep. Extension, add on to his rookie contract. So I was glad to get that done before Tua and Dak and even Jordan Love got theirs because it's, the price is just going to keep going up.
Yeah. So so obviously you believe in Trevor Lawrence?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What is there not to believe in? He's 24, about to be 25. Has shown that he's got what it takes to be one of the top tier quarterbacks. He had a down year a little bit last year after his injuries. But before that, he was playing at a great top 10 level. I mean, we were 8-3. He was cruising to have his best year ever. And then he gets banged up in that Bengals game on Monday night, and we lose Christian Kirk same game for the rest of the year. So it was just kind of like a double whammy, and it just kind of all went downhill from there.
Yeah, I'm afraid to see what they're going to sign Jordan Love for. I know it's coming, just a matter of when. I think it's going to happen before training camp. So
that was a big reason why I was glad we got our deal done with Trevor first, because Jordan Love, and I love Jordan Love. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. I think he's awesome. But Trevor does have the years of experience and some playoff success. So if whatever Jordan Love would have got, Trevor could have been like, well, you've got to pay me more than Jordan Love. I've proven it longer. So that's why I was
Right.
glad we got that done. And Tua too. I mean, Tua is just sitting back like, please let everyone get contract extensions. I'll just keep waiting.
Yeah, better not wait too long. You might get another concussion, No, I mean, all jokes aside, it sucks that he was put in a situation by his own coaching staff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
I
he shouldn't
mean,
have been playing those games after that. I mean, it was even just like as a fan watching on TV, you knew like something was wrong. Like he definitely was injured, had a concussion, and then they still put him back in.
yeah, that should have been lost of draft picks or something. A huge fine, all the above.
Yeah.
Packers and Jaguars. What do you think of Darnell Savage?
Darnell. So I didn't know a lot about Darnell Savage. He was not on my radar as guys that we were going to go after. We have a pretty solid like safety group. Andre Cisco, I love. He's a good player for us. We had drafted Antonio Johnson the year before, so this is going to be his second year, but he performed well as a rookie. So I kind of figured we were going to go in the season with those being our safeties. And then we gave a pretty big chunk of money to Darnell Savage. Now, Doug is talking like Darnell's going to play some slot. Darnell's never done that in the NFL, but the way our defensive coordinator kind of calls plays is it's a 3-safety look with the 3 safeties all being able to do the different things. Like Darnell Savage could line up at strong safety and Cisco in the slot and just kind of ever rotating between those 3 guys.
Right.
So
who was the other Packer that came down there?
Do what?
Who was the other Packer that signed with the Jaguars? Wasn't there somebody else, like a lineman?
Oh, the tight end who's like a fullback. His last name starts with a D. Number 81.
Oh, DeGuara.
Yeah.
DeGuara,
yeah.
Yeah, he was a blocking tight end. I thought we used him for the most. He got hurt though. I know that.
We from OTAs it looked like he was playing a lot of like H-back, which I mean Doug Peterson loves his tight end, so he'll see some playing time if he makes the 53.
Yeah, I think he will. He's decent. Which Jaguar do you think has a breakout season?
Man. All right, I've got 2. I got one on offense, one on defense. So I'm gonna go defense first. I think this is going to be Trayvon Walker's this was the reason they picked him first overall. He's slowly built. His rookie year was solid, but people are like, really, that's what you drafted first overall? 6.5 sacks. But he's a great run stuffer, just big physical defensive end. Last year he got 10.5 sacks, started to show some of that pass rush ability. I think this year adding Eric Armstead to the defensive line, making sure we kept Josh Allen. And so now there's no one you can double. You can't really shift offensive lines towards just either side because Josh could beat you or now Trayvon Walker could beat you with Eric Armstead adding that pressure up the middle. So I think Trayvon Walker is going to have his best season as a pro and really kind of show like, okay, now we understand why the Jags took this guy first overall over Aiden Hutchinson, who is just a sack merchant who taps guys while they fall on the ground, and that counts as a sack. I watched that game. He got like 3 sacks in one game on Thanksgiving. Those aren't real sacks. I love getting in arguments about Adrian Hutchinson. He does not play an ounce of run defense. He is just out there to try to get sacks.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that.
And then offensively, the easy answer would be to say Trevor. So I'm not going to say that. I'm going to go with Evan Ingram, who already had a career year last year, had the most catches for a tight end, had just under 1,000 yards, but just a few. I think he only had like 5 touchdowns total for the year. We've added a lot of weapons on the outside. I think that's really going to free up the intermediate and short yardage stuff for Evan, who's great after the catch. And I think he's going to put up a 3rd straight career year with the Jags, showing that all he had to do was get away from the Giants and Daniel Jones to show that he's a good player.
Yeah, it seems to be the Giants get rid of all their good players.
Yeah, I mean they let Evan walk.
Yeah, well they let McKinney walk too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and he's signed with you guys. He's like your Darnell Savage replacement. He's a great player. I like McKinney. He's going to be a good player for you guys.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him play in the green and gold for sure. I just still can't believe that the Giants let him walk. 24 years old.
24 years old, your own draft pick. They had the cap room to keep him, and they just let him walk.
That just blows my mind. He hasn't even hit his prime yet, and they're letting your captain of your defense go.
Yeah, 6 picks last year. Had a ton of tackles. I mean, I don't know, and 24 years old. I mean, you get him now for a long-term contract. You get him through his whole prime. So I thought that was kind of crazy to let him walk like that. But the Giants are a little bit dysfunctional, so it's not that surprising.
Yeah, you give your quarterback just doing nothing, a huge contract, and you let all your good players walk.
Yeah, they let Barkley walk. I can't think of anybody else right now off the top of my head, but gave away King's ransom for Brian Burns, who's a good player, but that was a whole lot of draft capital for a defensive end. Right.
What are your thoughts on Doug Peterson as a head coach?
He better take back play calling this year. That's my opinion. He has an affinity for Press Taylor, our offensive coordinator, and he got to call plays last year. And I don't know. He's just not the play caller that Doug is. I like what Doug's doing as far as building a culture in Jacksonville. And the guys seem to want to play for him and all that stuff. But he is a brilliant offensive mind, and I want to see him calling plays because his first year in Jacksonville, he was calling the plays, and Trevor took off. We made that little bit of a playoff run. So I'd like to see that, especially with the addition of Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas and the offensive line, should be better. We've upgraded a few positions, so I'd love to see Doug calling plays and getting back to the glasses down on his nose, looking at that play sheet, cooking it up.
Yeah, the glasses down. That's always a good look on the sidelines. I always picture Andy Reid sitting there looking at a menu from like Arby's or.
Yeah, the popular meme for Jacksonville is Doug's Waffle House menu. That's where Trevor took everybody after the playoff comeback.
Yeah, that's funny. How much talent do you guys have at wide receiver, do you think?
I think this is the best room Trevor's had since he got here. I mean, if you look at his rookie year, we had players like Laquell Treadwell, Tavon Austin, and Marvin Jones starting at wide receiver. Last year was pretty talented, but it wasn't deep. Zay Jones, as much as he did for Jacksonville in his first year, signing with us for free agency, he is just kind of like a mid-tier third option at wide receiver, and we were counting on him to be a pretty important part of our offense the last couple of years. And Calvin Ridley is an insanely talented wide receiver. I'm sure all the Titans fans that are watching right now have seen me otherwise here on Twitter, but I can give it to him that he is a very talented receiver, has a case of the drops every once in a while, maybe the 7th most in the whole NFL last year. But yeah, no, I love our receiver room. I think we've added a lot more explosiveness with Gabe and Brian Thomas and let Christian Kirk keep working the middle with Evan. And I include Evan Ingram as a wide receiver. He's a wide receiver in a tight end's body. He's not blocking anybody out there.
Right. What do you think of Green Bay's receiving room?
You guys have a crazy young receiving room, which is fun because now you've got all these guys kind of long term. You got mid-round picks. You got the first-round pick with Christian Watson. Romeo Dubes was a 2nd-round pick, right?
Yep.
Something like that. So, I mean, you've got high-end picks. You've got mid-round picks like Wicks and Reed. So it's fun to have all those guys drafted and young and be able to grow their chemistry with Jordan Love. Like, I think that's the best way to do it. I've been thinking the same way for like the Jags. Like every year, I'm like, draft receivers to grow with Trevor. Like, let's let them build chemistry for years to come. Like, that's the smart thing to do. So I think that was a very good investment by the Packers doing that and kind of doing something they never really did for Aaron, I guess. Y'all drafted Devontae Adams and he got to be with Aaron for a long time, but Aaron's whole gripe was that he never got receivers.
He never got a first-round receiver.
Never. Right, but I mean, you had
You
Jordy
don't need a first round
Nelson.
receiver to be successful. You can take
No,
second, third, fourth, fifth round. Look at Randall Cobb. Look at.
yeah,
It's Donald Driver, seventh round
yeah.
pick.
Jordy Nelson wasn't a first round pick, I don't believe. Greg Jennings. I mean, honestly, the better receivers, yes, those top tier wide receivers for the most part come from the first round, but there's a lot of busts in that first round too. But if you can find the diamond in the rough in those later rounds, those receivers pan out to last a lot longer and more cost effective as well for the first few years.
Right. What are your thoughts on free agency as far as like Jacksonville, Green Bay, and around the league? What's going on?
It was a wild free agency. There's still some pretty big names kind of left that are probably just waiting to see what happens with training camps. But I thought the Jags, this should be the last year where we spend a lot of money in free agency. I mean, we made some splashes with Eric Armstead, who's a player he wasn't on my radar either. I didn't think we would make that big of a swing. I think it's just because we lost out on Calvin that we had some money to play around with. And then Darnell Savage was another good pick for us. And then Gabe Davis. And honestly, the most slept on player from free agency that we got who's going to make the biggest impact will be Mitch Morse, who's a center. Most people are like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not really that important of a position. Our center last year was like one of the worst ones in the NFL, caused a lot of pass blocking issues, a lot of run blocking issues. So even just getting a slight upgrade there will help. And then I think what the Packers did is what you perfectly want to do before you pay your quarterback. You kind of fill in those last holes that you feel you had on the team. And I mean, you guys are a real threat in the NFC this year. We're about to be doing a segment on our podcast where we talk about like Future Fridays, where we talk about teams that we can see, going over their win totals or having a good season. And the Packers are pretty high on all three of our lists of a team that we're kind of picking to be that team in the NFC.
Quite the rebuild, huh?
Yeah. I mean, that first half of the year, it felt like the Packers were like, there was questions starting to come out like, okay, are we really going to go with Jordan Love like long term? Like, how's this going to work? And then about halfway through the year, he flipped that switch and he really showed, like who he is as a player. And I think he's going to show that all year. I mean, I'm very excited to watch the Packers this year.
Yeah, for sure. Same here. I just, like you said, halfway through the season, the switch just flipped and they hit it in stride and they just kept on going, and it showed big time when they went to Dallas in the playoffs and just smoked them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just out the gate, Dak Prescott throws like 2 pick sixes, and then Aaron Jones just did what he does against the Dallas Cowboys. I think that was like my one question mark with the Packers. And maybe you have a little more insight is why did Aaron Jones get to, why did they let him leave? I know you got Josh Jacobson, who I don't know. I'm not super high on him, but I don't know. Aaron Jones felt like that veteran leader for the Packers.
I just think it was a disagreement with money.
Yeah.
To be honest. And, I don't know. Maybe they got Josh Jacobs thinking that Jones would stay for the 1-2 punch. And he's like, no, I want out of here.
That's what I thought too. I thought you guys were going to keep both. And I was like, oh, wow, they're about to just be able to run and do whatever they want on offense, especially with that receiving core.
We thought that for about a good hour. And then they released Aaron Jones and he went to the Vikings. So,
well, I like Lynch, the rookie that you guys got out of USC. He's
Lloyd.
If you're a fantasy or Lloyd, that's right, Lloyd. If you're a fantasy football dynasty guy, Lloyd is the long-term investment there for the Packers, I think.
See what I think they're doing too is I think him and Jacobs are kind of similar in how they play.
Yeah,
like their run style and it's kind of like their body build and everything. I think we signed Jacobs for 4 years, but I don't think he's going to stay the full 4 years. I think they drafted Marshawn Lloyd knowing that he was going to replace Josh Jacobs. So
yeah,
that's his college film is just crazy.
Yeah, he's definitely put up a lot of highlights.
Yeah,
and then I'll say just around the NFL, it was a crazy offseason. I mean, Kirk Cousins going to the Falcons. I don't know. There's just a lot of big signings everywhere, which, I mean, I think that made the Packers, the NFC North, a little easier for you guys. I'm not the biggest Lions believer. And the Vikings got worse with a rookie quarterback, and the Bears are the Bears until they're not.
Which will be never. They always seem to find a way to screw up. I mean, let's be honest here.
We talked about it on our podcast quite a bit that we really thought that Justin Fields should have been the guy there. I get having the number 1 overall pick, but trade that. Get a bunch of picks, or finally surround Justin with talent you've never had. I mean, take Marvin Harrison first overall, and then take another.
That's what I've been saying. I've been saying it the whole time.
Like Justin's a good quarterback, and I'm very excited for the Steelers. They're my dark horse team in the AFC. I'm taking them to win the AFC North. I just think they did great free agency. I don't think Russell's going to be the starter, and even if he is, I don't think it lasts very long before Mike Tomlin's like, I'm trying to go to the playoffs. I'm not trying to just win 9 games and miss. Like, Justin Fields adds an element to that offense that they've never had.
Yeah, I mean, you can go back on my podcast in the past with like Bears fans, Packer fans, just in general, and I've been saying for a long time, I've never thought high of Ohio State quarterbacks coming in the NFL because they don't really turn out. But Justin Fields was the one quarterback that I was actually afraid to play in Chicago because, I mean, he's a bigger quarterback. Obviously, he can throw the ball, he can run the ball. You know, and they brought him in DJ Moore, and then you got Keenan Allen. Draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Why not? And they just traded him. They instead of getting rid of their coaches at underdeveloped quarterbacks, they traded the king of the North. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what they're calling them. Why not get rid of your coaches that can't develop quarterbacks and get a quarterback developing coach in there? You know, and I've been saying too that Russell Wilson isn't going to halfway through the season. He won't be the starter in Pittsburgh. Justin Fields will take over. You know,
and that's if he doesn't take over in training camp. I mean, he has the ability. Justin Fields does, where he's going to look so good that Mike Tomlin doesn't care that Russell Wilson's a 13-year pro with a Super Bowl ring. Mike Tomlin cares about winning football games, and he does not care about guys' feelings either.
Yeah.
Like if Justin's the better player, Justin's going to play. And I mean, I'm big on Justin Fields. The year is the year that they were coming out in the draft. That whole season, the Jags had won their very first game, and the Jets hadn't won any games. So I was fully accepting that we were going to get the 2nd overall pick for the whole year. And I was like, all right, cool. It sucks. I'd really love to have Trevor Lawrence, but Justin Fields is a playmaker, and I'd be happy to have Justin Fields at the 2nd overall pick. That was until my guy Frank Gore, who is forever now a Jaguar legend, went off against the Rams for no good reason and beat them pretty much single-handedly to let them win a game, and the Jags got to leapfrog them for the 1st overall pick. So that was, shout out my guy Frank Gore.
Yeah, Frank, he's a Miami boy, ain't he? Frank Gore. Yeah, I know he played for Miami, but is he from Florida?
I think he is from Florida. I don't know. I played with him a lot in Madden, but I will always love Frank Gore for that game. I remember it was on my birthday. He's just dicing up the Rams. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to win, and the Jags are going to get the 1st overall pick. What a gift. But having not, I would have been cool with Justin Fields for sure. But I'm glad things ended up the way they did.
I just, like the Bear, you had a quarterback that showed glimpses of being good, Justin Fields, and you could have gotten Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean,
yep.
I don't get it,
Yeah, I get the contracts out of it because they were going to have to pay Justin soon, so I get resetting and getting a rookie quarterback contract. That's gold in the NFL because you have so much control for so long at such a cost-effective contract. But still, I mean, you're taking the gamble. I get Caleb Williams is a Heisman Trophy winner and did all these things, like made all these big plays in college, but there is no guarantee. Like, you knew what you had in Justin Fields. you don't know what you have in Caleb Williams yet. He has not played a down in the NFL. In the NFL, I don't care how well you played in college. The NFL is a whole different monster than college football.
That's what I'm saying, though. You got Romeo Duns, and then the next question is, can you keep him on his feet to throw the ball?
Yeah. I was mad. I was mad that the Bears got Roma Dunze. That was my guy. I wanted him I was hoping the Jags were going to trade up for him. He's going to be a very good receiver, I think. I like him. But yeah, no, I mean they don't have the greatest offensive line. I don't super believe in their run game. They went and got DeAndre Swift, who is just okay. Like, he's just an okay running back. They do have receiving options out of, more than they probably know what to do with, as far as Cole Kmet, very good tight end, Roma Dunze in the slot, and then Keenan Allen, veteran player, but he's still got something left in the tank. And then DJ Moore is very good. But I don't know. Caleb Williams, there's just something about him that he does too much running around in the pocket unnecessarily. And guys like that, I'm like, this isn't Madden. You keep running side to side and trying to wait for someone to get open, you're just going to get sacked.
It's not Madden, and it ain't the Pac-12.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the other thing. He did all that against the Pac-12, which, not to downplay Division I football, but the Pac-12 is not known for their defensiveness.
Try doing that in the SEC.
Yeah. Johnny Manziel got away with it for a little while, but that's about it.
Yeah, I still kind of not shocked, but I just can't believe Justin Jefferson signed the contract in Minnesota with what they have there at quarterback. I was saying that I thought that he was going to go to Cincinnati and play with Joe Burrow, his college quarterback.
Yeah, I thought he would kind of fight back a little harder. I mean, I understand they could have franchise tagged him and drug this thing out probably for a couple more years, but yeah, I'm surprised he willingly. I mean, money talks. He got a huge contract, so maybe that made it worth it for him. But it's kind of crazy that you sign that big of a contract and your quarterback situation's a question mark. Now, I do like their head coach. I feel like he's going to develop all he can get out of JJ. I just don't know how much there is to get out of JJ. I don't know how much of an NFL quarterback he truly is. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah,
he's in a good situation too. Good offensive line, good running back now with Ty Chandler and Aaron Jones. TJ Hawkinson no, TJ's not there. But yeah, he is. That's right.
I think he is.
Yeah, he is. I got mixed up where he got traded from. But TJ's there, and then you've got Jefferson and Jordan Addison. So I mean, he's got options. Him and Caleb Williams are kind of in a situation where you'll know pretty soon whether they're going to be able to sink or swim in the NFL, because they've both been put in pretty solid situations.
Yeah, I don't hope the best for any teams in the NFC North. So
yeah.
For the Packers. I still think it's kind of ironic how we got our asses kicked in Green Bay by Detroit, then we went to Detroit and kicked their asses. So it's I feel like they're our biggest rival right now in the NFC North. Them and the Bears. You talk about losing 10 games in a row to a team, it really ain't a rival no more.
Yeah.
But so you said earlier you like Jordan Love. What are your thoughts on Jordan Love?
He's athletic enough to where he can make plays with his feet, but he's got a rocket of an arm. I mean, he throws some beautiful, beautiful long passes. I mean, he was fun to watch last year. And the weather doesn't seem to bother him, which, that is a factor. When you talk about these NFC North teams, you do have to think about weather. Playing outside in for the Bears or playing outside in Green Bay, I mean, those are true. Like that can affect a player. There's some guys that can do it, some guys that can't. Jordan Love seems like he's just fine playing in that kind of weather, and he's not afraid of the moment. Like he stepped up against the Cowboys. He went blow for blow with the 49ers in that playoff game. So I think he's got a bright future ahead of him, which makes sense. I mean, the Packers have had, before him, two quarterbacks in the last 30 years. And I'm sure Jordan Love's going to be around for 15. and then the next guy will be around for 20. I mean, it's just what the Packers do, right?
Yeah, develop the key position.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've had the same skull for the last 30 plus years looking at quarterbacks or what, but I don't know what it is.
Bart Starr before that was there for a long time, and then
Bart Starr, even Don Mikowski before Favre.
Yeah, so
Magic
it's
Man.
just some positions for some teams they just always seem to work out, and the Packers have nailed the most important one by always having the quarterback, which is the biggest question mark on the team. Like if you got a quarterback, you can pretty much you're always in there. Like you're always in contention as long as you've got one of those guys. If you have one of those top 10 guys, you have a chance of winning a Super Bowl every year, in my opinion. And they've got, I think, one of those top 10 guys.
Do you think Eric Stokes makes an impact this year for the Packers if he comes back healthy?
I hope so. He was the guy I was very interested in because we had taken Tyson Campbell. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's get this Georgia cornerback combo going back together. He's not performed super great in the NFL so far. He's had a lot of injury bad luck. I have a Stokes rookie card, numbered prison rookie card that I got out of a pack a few years ago. So I'm hoping his stock goes up,
Yeah, I think he'll come back and make an impact and get his injuries under control. And like him or not him, but like I know Christian Watson, they brought him to a hamstring specialist at UW-Madison and got him looked at. They got new training staff.
Yeah, I saw an article about Christian Watson about how his hamstring injuries are something of like some kind of statistic that like 1 in every 3,000 people have this kind of hamstring injury keep reoccurring. And that he went to those new doctors and the new training staff have hopefully figured out how to prevent that, because he's a fun player. I had him. I drafted him pretty early in fantasy football last year in a couple of leagues, hoping to have that magic, and it didn't work out just because of the injuries. But he's a fun player.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think Green Bay's defense will be better this year, going to a 4-3?
I think you guys have the players for it. We were talking about those pass rushers at the beginning of the episode. If your new secondary pieces kind of pan out and having a new defensive coordinator, sometimes it's just that's what you need. You need to have kind of a new breath of fresh air come in, kind of put in some new philosophies and get the boys fired up on defense. And I think you guys got all the pieces too. I think Preston Smith's awesome. Gary is a solid player. You got a couple good rookies, and then the free agent signing of Jerry McKinstry from the Giants to solidify that backfield to where he's kind of the general back there, making sure everybody's where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, I think Kenny Clark, and I think my breakout player for defense for sure, I think is going to be Devontae Wyatt. Get him in there and
defensive tackle.
Yeah,
big boy.
Him and I think another breakout one's going to be Quay Walker.
Yeah, he was a hot. You guys got him. You got the Georgia guys in the first round, right?
Yep.
Wyatt and Walker.
Yeah.
I think I have Walker in a dynasty league that I'm in where we have individual defensive players, and I just always draft like a rookie linebacker because they get a lot of points for tackles. So I think I do have Walker somewhere. I'm in way too many fantasy football leagues. It's hard to keep track of what's going on. I think I'm in like 5 dynasty leagues, and then I'm in like 3 just normal redrafts every year. So it's a lot. It's a third part-time job.
A third part-time job. Wow.
Yeah.
When you hear Green Bay, knowing the storied history, what comes to mind?
For me, it's the Cheeseheads. I growing up, played a lot of Madden, and I would always love playing against the Packers because I'd always do like franchise modes. And every time you play in Green Bay, the fans just have those hats. And so for me, it was just like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Lambeau Leap comes to mind. That's like a cool tradition. I like how your guys' fans like will not let an opposing player jump up there. That's fun. I like that. And then Brett Favre. I grew up, in the golden era of Brett Favre slinging that football around, early 2000s and mid 2000s before he got traded around. So Brett Favre, I always trade for him too on Madden because the Jaguars quarterback situation was always so bad. I was like, I could just get Brett Favre, to team up with Fred Taylor and Maurice Jones-Drew. I have something cooking here.
Yeah, Fred Taylor. That's a flash in the past.
That is my guy right there. Fred Taylor is my favorite player all time.
I was going to ask you, who is he your favorite player of all time? I was going to ask you that.
Favorite player all time. Yeah, and we just talked about this recently. We did an episode where we had two of our friends on, and we did like a draft where we took our top 5 favorite sports moments of all time. It was a very fun episode, but one of the picks I gave was Fred Taylor's 90-yard rushing touchdown in the playoffs against Miami. That's like my first memory of watching football. And I joked and told the story on there. I was like, I thought that's how football was. I thought the Jags were dominant. We were always going to be winning because we won that game like 62-7 or something. It's biggest blowout playoff history. I said, if I could go back and tell 6-year-old me, this is not how it's going to be. Buckle up, buddy. But no, for my first few years of watching football, I was like, oh, cool. Like we're like one of these teams that just always wins. We are not one of these teams that always wins, it turns out. But yeah, Fred Taylor, that was my guy. I wore his number when I played football growing up. Just one of those, just my favorite player. Just a running back. To be 6'4", 230 and do the kind of things he did, I just thought it was just magical to watch.
I liked watching him at Florida in college.
Yeah, he was great in Florida too. And then he kind of got banged up his first couple years in the NFL and kind of got mislabeled as like a fragile guy. But after, I think it was like his first 2 years, he had some hamstring injuries. And then after that, he averaged 100 yards a game for like 10 years in a row. So
I think at one point when I did fantasy football, I pretty sure I had him on my team a few times. He'd always be like the goal line touchdown guy, and
yeah. And then it was fun. It was fun. It was fun whenever Maurice Jones-Drew they drafted him and Fred's like towards the end of his career, and it kind of revived him a little bit. He didn't have to carry the rock so much, and he'd come in and he'd have like 8 carries in a game, but still have 100 yards because he still had that ability to bust one off and make a couple guys miss. So yeah, Fred Taylor, I'll always that's my guy. He should have already been in the Hall of Fame. I'll beat that drum for forever. It'll be a good day, a happy day for me when he gets in.
He'll make it. Just a matter of time.
Yeah, he got close this year. He made it as far as he's been. He got to be a finalist. So should be, in the next couple of years, we should finally get him in there.
Right. Yeah, I hope he gets in there. I had fun watching him in college and the NFL. Favorite type of cheese?
Favorite type of cheese? I am a pepper jack kind of guy.
Okay. You ever tried ghost pepper?
I'm not. I like spicy food, but I don't like spicy food to the point where I'm not going to have a fun time. Like my wings, I like a good mild buffalo wing. Anything above mild, I'm like, you know what? It's starting to hurt. And where's some water? Where's some milk? I'm getting lit up over here.
So you're going to a game and you're going to go to a tailgate. What are you bringing?
Well, so I actually live in Tennessee. So I don't go to any tailgates because I don't like the Titans at all. But when I go down to Jacksonville, I make sure and bring my wallet because and I'll give them a shout out. Bold City Brigade, they do the best tailgate in Jacksonville. Food, drinks, but they also have a shop where you can buy stuff online. But they bring stuff to the games. So I always make sure I get some merch while I'm down there because it's all retro stuff for the most part. And it's good quality products, good hats, hoodies, all that good stuff.
Okay.
But not a big tailgate guy. I like to get to the games obnoxiously early. My wife's like, why do we have to be there so early? I like to watch the guys warm up. I like to walk around the stadiums. One of me and my one of my buddies that we do the podcast with, we've been doing a stadium tour the last couple of years where we hit a new stadium every year that we've never been to. And so we like to just go and check those out and just kind of check out the stadium. We walk the whole thing and see everything we can see. So not a big tailgate guy. I like checking out the stadiums more.
You ought to come to Lambeau.
Oh, it's on the list for sure. It's we've kind of fallen into where we've just been going where the Jags play. He's a great friend. My boy Mason. He's a huge Titans fan, but he willingly goes to Jaguar games with me. I tell him he's a better friend than me because I'm not traveling anywhere to watch the Titans play. Like if it's the Titans versus the Falcons, I'm not going to that, dude. Sorry, I got a Jags game to watch. But no, he's a better friend than me. We went to the Steelers stadium last year, and that was fun. It's very historic stadium. I got all their Super Bowl trophies up and a lot of history there. So that was a fun stadium to go to.
Yeah, if you ever do go to Lambeau, A, let me know, and B, they have a Hall of Fame, like a Packers Hall of Fame inside the stadium. It's like a two-story, and everything from beginning to current, and it's just the amount of history. Even if you're not a Packers fan, it's just respect the history of the game. And
I'm a huge historian of the NFL. I love getting into like the older stats and just kind of me and my buddies, we just kind of will play that random game of just name random NFL dudes. So we just start naming players, and it's fun. I definitely enjoy the history of the NFL. There's a lot you can go back and research and cool, fun stats to find. But the Packers Stadium is definitely high on my list. I just don't know how I'm going to get any tickets. Don't you guys have like your season ticket holders take up like the whole stadium?
Well, you can still come up in the off season. Stadium tour.
That's true. Okay, that's true.
Stadium's open like all year round, except for I think New Year's Day.
Huh? And for the museum,
you can do stadium tour. You can do the Hall of Fame tour. You can do a stadium tour. I mean, you can walk around. They have big statues of Curly Lambeau and Vince Lombardi outside. They have a mock Lambeau Leap outside. You can go take a picture. They have a 3-story Vince Lombardi trophy in one of the wings of the stadium.
Huh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know all that. That's cool. We'll have
it's open year
earlier than normal.
It's open year round. I mean, come up for a game is cool, but I mean, just to be able to be up here and not feel rushed by everybody around you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do you think of Matt LaFleur as a play caller offensively?
I mean, he comes from that McVay tree, right? So he's got it. That it's like a supercharged West Coast offense. I think you're really going to see him get the most out of Jordan Love. This will be, year 2 of being in the offense, and Jordan's going to have that offense down. And I think he's a good play caller. I feel like he's put together. He's kind of got a guy now on defense where he doesn't have to worry so much about the defense. I think last year he was having to kind of put his hands on the defensive side of the ball, being like, hey, I got to help you make decisions because our defense is kind of letting us down here. I think he can solely focus on offense now, which is going to be a good thing for the Packers.
Yeah, I'm glad. I think Jordan Love is the perfect quarterback for his offense.
Yep.
I think you had a snarly veteran in there before that would change the call.
Yeah, Rodgers at the end there, and even with the Jets, he's not making himself very likable.
Like I always say, I thank him for what he did in the past, but love the guy, but I'm just glad that he's not our problem anymore. Yeah, we did. Even though when he got hurt, we lost a 2nd round draft pick because it was something to do. Right. He had to play like 50% of the games, or we wouldn't get this high of a draft. Anyways, you never want to see somebody get hurt, but right. Yeah, I still think we did good.
Yeah.
Do you think Jordan Love will win a ring with Green Bay?
I mean, it's hard to see how he wouldn't. As far as the Packers are an organization that seems to always have their ducks in a row and know how to build teams. And he's such a young player. that he should be around for. I mean, we talk about Packers quarterbacks 12, 15 years. It's hard to imagine he doesn't get one, unless Patrick Mahomes is just going to win the next 15, and none of us have any fun.
Yeah, I think he will. It seems to be a trend. At least get one ring.
Yeah,
one ring every 15 years. I'll take it.
Yeah, I would take it. Yeah, I would take a ring.
You'd hope for more, but just everything's getting so different and complicated sometimes in the NFL. It's hard to, you got trying to beat the salary cap and injuries and all that fun stuff. All right, I got one final question for you, and then I'll let you get on with your night. How do you think the Packers will finish this year in the North and in the NFC?
I think this is going to be a bold take here. I've got the Packers being the number 2 seed in the NFC, but I have them winning the NFC North. Finishing around 11-6, I believe, right? 17 games. This keeps throwing me off, that new schedule stuff. But I think the 49ers are going to take first again. They're just so, I don't know. They're just the team to beat over there. But I think they get the number 1 seed as far as the NFC goes, but I think the Packers are right behind them. I think the Lions have a fall back to earth a little bit moment and
hangover.
Yeah. Same thing I think is going to happen to those Texans too. It's a lot harder to repeat when you have expectations on yourself. Yeah. So I think the Lions come down a little bit. The Packers take advantage of having, I haven't looked at their schedule in depth, but it's not a first place schedule, so it should be a little easier.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had the Packers finishing 12-5.
12-5.
There's some trap games that are in there.
11, yeah, 11-6. We're probably the only game separating us is, I think the Jags beat them down in Jacksonville. That's probably our only difference right there.
Yeah, it's crazy how sometimes they can't win like the warm weather games. They only win the cold weather games,
Yeah.
But well, that's gonna bring an end to this episode, Tyler. I want to thank you for being on. I'm glad we were able to figure out the technical issues, and I look forward to possibly when the season starts or training camp to having you back on and see if anything comes up and stuff to talk about. Maybe we can talk about more sports. And do you watch much basketball or just a lot of football?
I'm more of a college basketball guy.
Okay.
And then I do watch a lot of college football. And then hockey. I've been getting into hockey the last couple of years, so I don't know if you're a hockey guy or not, but it's been a new sport for me the last couple of years.
I've watched the playoffs.
Yeah,
I don't really. I watch a lot of baseball, football, and basketball. So
okay, I'm trying to get into baseball. I'm trying. I bet on it enough that I'm trying to watch it now. So, but yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on for sure. Anytime you want to have me back on, I'll be glad to come back on. Thanks for having me, and let me shout out my podcast and all that.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
You want to do it again? Give the shout out to your podcast.
Yeah, so make sure. So I am Tinseltown over on Twitter, but you can follow me and my guys at the Next Guy Up podcast. We are on Spotify, Apple. We have episodes every Monday and Friday talking sports, just talking really everything. We talk about a lot of random stuff, a lot of Pixar movie, Disney movie kind of stuff, but and then sports as well. So we have a fun time. So check us out over there, and appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Tyler.